Welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Genevieve Gravel. You can find me across all social media under the hashtag xoxogigi. I do want to give a quick disclaimer about today's topic, as it does involve the unaliving of children. If you find this as bothersome as I do, then please feel free to scroll on. I highly suggest you do. If you are interested, and you did stay, if you're interested in anything history, ancient history, mythology, folklore, Egyptology, or fantasy fiction, make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button, because I do come to you every Wednesday with a historical post and every first Friday with a fantasy fiction story. So let's get into it. So 2,500 years ago, there was a group of people that was ostracized from their community because the community felt that their religious practices were way too extreme, and quite honestly, I would have kicked their asses out too. Now, animal sacrifice is not all uncommon. We've seen it from many different cultures across many different eras all around the world. And the Carthaginians, that's the only time I'm going to say it because I can't say it right, they were no exception. They did practice this. This, however, is not the reason that they were kicked out of their community. The Roman accounts of these people and their extreme religious practices were that they would sacrifice their infants, and they would do so in ceremonies where a smiley-faced or grinning mask would be placed over the baby's face to hide the torture and torment, and they would play the drums so loudly that you could not hear the baby's wailings out of torture and pain as they're literally. Carthaginians, did so as an offering or a sacrifice to their gods. But here's the topic I really want to talk about, is there is an actual divide amongst a community of people who are much smarter than me and have spent their lives studying antiquities, historian, and even forensic scientists and archaeologists. They've all spent a lot of time studying this. Now, I've never been to Oxford University. I don't have a PhD. But there is a divide between them in trying to figure out whether these events actually happened. And let me tell you why. So the places where these ceremonies would take place have been found, but there's the question of, was it sacrifice or were these simply graveyards? Because during this time and this era, in this place, the infant mortality rate was, I think, 7 out of 10 children, babies born, failed to survive. So there would be a call for infant graveyards. However, amongst the clay pots that they found, there are remains of goats and sheep, both in urns with the babies' remains as well as in their own urns, kind of suggesting it may not have been a graveyard. And on the pots was inscribed something that can be loosely translated to, "Heard my voice and blessed me," as if they're coming in thanks to the gods who have heard their voices, or the god who have heard their voice and blessed them, so they're giving offerings. So perhaps they could have been offering their children who failed to survive, but why would you offer the god something that's sickly and weak? That's a question. Now, I mentioned the whole bunch of people that are really super smart, way smarter than me. They have done forensic testing on the remains that were found within these pots, and they have found that the age ranges of the human remains were between 2 months and 5 years of age. There was no signs of any kind of malnutrition or any diseases that would show up in the teeth or bones. And in addition, and this is kind of an important one, they found both male and female DNA. Now, the original accounts come from the Romans, who were their enemies. And I think it's important to remember that to the victor go the spoils, and one of those spoils is being able to write history from your biased viewpoint. And another thing about war is that as long as we go as far back as the written record, there's been wars. And every war that's been written about, there has been propaganda. Propaganda is generally spread through word of mouth, and it is a form of brainwashing used to garner support for a side or used to defend your own horrific, monstrous action. So if you've gone into a tribe of people or a city of people and completely assimilated and annihilated them using horrific, monstrous acts against humanity, and you want to defend that, what is a better way than saying, oh, they're baby killers? I mean, it's a form of propaganda that's still used today. We use people's desire to protect and defend our youth and our innocence, and our children, to garnish hate or defend horrific actions or beliefs. So the question is, could the Roman accounts of the Carthaginians, I still didn't say that right, could they have been correct, or could they have been skewed as a form of a blatant lie, basically, as a form of propaganda? Now, it is said that the kind of qualifying criteria for these sacrifices were that they came in offering of their most noble child. Now, many historians believe that that would account or speak to the firstborn son. But not every religion or every belief or every culture and heritages believe that the male is more important than the female, or the son would be of more nobility or honor than the daughter. And in many languages of that time, the masculine pronoun would kind of go to all of you, not only the males, but the females and others as well. So the fact that they did find female DNA within these pots is not proof positive that they were not sacrificed. Now, some say that finding these sites and doing the testings and stuff that they've done is proof positive that, yes, they did practice infant sacrifice. However, that is a really hard thing to wrap your mind around. I can't wrap my mind around it. I mean, I can't think of anything under the sun that would provoke me to put my children in harm's way. However, knowing what I know about history and humanity and the horrific acts and torture devices that have been used throughout history, and knowing about kind of a mob mentality or a cultist ideology, it's not out of the realm of possibility that infant sacrifices did take place. But also knowing what I know about warring nations and warring cultures and people in power, they do lie. So I don't really know where do I fall on this debate. Do I believe? Now, I don't know where I fall on the debate, whether I believed these actions actually happened or not. All I know is that I don't have the stomach to continue researching it. And this is what I found. And I'm sharing it with you. If you do want to know more, there are some really wonderful resources out there. There are great documentaries and many articles written by very smart people. I highly suggest you look them up. Please make sure you use only credible sources. This video is not a credible source. Such as Oxford University and the Journal of Antiquity. Now remember, this did take place between 800 and 146 BC. So this is a very, very long time ago. A lot about these cultures and people that we really don't understand, because we tend to think of history in a very modern sense. But if you really think about it, are things really the same right now as they were 10 years ago? And think about how much has changed in just the last 10 years, particularly within a social conscious, and think about how that could have changed over 2,500 years. And I mean, how many generations is that even? It's a lot of fucking generations. So anyway, that is all I have for you today. Please Make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button. I will be back next Wednesday with some more ancient history for you. And of course on the first Friday of every month with a little story. It's got ghosts, vampires, witches, all things supernatural. If you love it, give me a follow. I really want to try to find something positive to end off on, because that's like really, this is really down and depressing. Like that's some hardcore shit right there. But I guess all I can leave you off with is remember, you are valid, you are worthy, and you are loved. Okay, love you. Bye.